U.S.'s largest suppository.
Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me?
So the first campground we stayed at on the trip was the Mart, just outside of Nitro, West Virginia.
Yes, and thanks to Michelle, who was the manager of the Mart, that was kind enough to oblige.
It was a nice, quiet place. Had a great view. No electric, no water, no sewer. But worked out great for the whole time we were there.
Wide enough
Nobody
for us to
bothered us. Neighbors didn't get pulled in really close to us. They didn't double book the place, so definitely was a good place to stay.
The campground is Camp Carlson Army Recreational Facilities, and it is actually the Fort Knox family campground. So, and that is in Mulduro, Kentucky. Just to give you guys a head up, when we try to put it into our
if you don't have with Google and with the truck and with the trucker GPS, they could not, it wouldn't find it. You had to go find the intersection on the map and push pin here and say go there.
With the RV Trip Wizard, no problem. It's situated within the camping app, camping applications. It'll find it, but for some reason the GPS's, it doesn't like the US 60. So
yeah, but it loved to take us through the US 60 to get there.
For me, I liked the campground. I thought it was beautifully laid out, very easy to access. The way the maintenance of the facilities was very gorgeously laid out and easy to understand, so you weren't trying to figure stuff out.
Sites were clearly labeled. Only downsides, I would say.
One was that the only thing I would say that is frustrating, but it's not a no-go, is if you want to stay there, just be aware there is no internet. They don't provide internet services or Wi-Fi. And unless you have the ability to put up one of those big, huge omnidirectional antennas, you're not going to get a signal.
You got two downsides to it then. First one was the ants. The minute we first showed up, there were ants all over the place. Now, we've taken steps to keep ants out of our house through witch hazel and a few other things in order to keep all that stuff out when we got there. And as soon as we saw them, we sprayed stuff out. We didn't have a problem with ants. I think I saw maybe 2 ants get inside the house, and that was right there on the steps, and we killed them right away. So there was no internet and other stuff. There was also, this is a blessing and a cursing at the same time. No cell phone coverage. I don't care what you got, unless you had a sat phone, you weren't talking to anybody.
Yeah.
That's, it could be bad if you need to talk to people. In my case, where I wanted to sleep and I got sick for 24 hours, it was a good thing. On day 2, when I had to talk to people, it wasn't so good. I had to get in the truck and go drive about 3 miles to talk to people.
Just to be aware, that's the downside of the park, is you're in a gully that doesn't get signal. So the first one we stayed at was Foxfire KOA, and that's in Milton, West Virginia. And that one was really cool, really interesting. It had 3 ponds they're also pet friendly, very set up, very hospitable.
The only place you couldn't have your pets was inside the store.
They were very hospitable, had everything ready to go when we showed up. Loved the way it was set up. It was very interesting. They are big rig friendly, and this was one of the first KOAs that we had been to in a long time. They were actually spaced apart, so when you opened up your slides, you weren't kissing cousins. The only downside that I saw on my end was that they were not paved, they were not graveled lots, so you ran into ruts in your lanes. So we did leveling out the RV.
So, yeah, like she said, the biggest thing structurally wise, the sites were high centered. So it made it off a little bit for leveling out. We actually lifted our wheels off and we had to put blocks underneath the wheels and then redo it so we would inject our suspension. As far as from my perspective, favorite thing was the beach down next to the ponds. Now the ponds are green. There's signs all over says it's part of the cleaning stuff that they put inside there to keep the water clean for people to swim in. I just don't want to swim in green water. It's just if it's a pond and you got all this, I mean, they got all kinds of obstacle stuff out there. Probably fun for kids. I just didn't want to, but it was fun to take the dogs for a walk on the sand. They enjoyed it. My favorite thing was the space, like she talked about, because of the fact that nobody bothers, and the whole night long, even though people came in and left in the middle of the night, we never heard a thing. It was awesome.
Yep. So the third place that we stayed at was the Luray KOA, which did not click in my head, but this is in Luray, Virginia, and it's right outside of Luray Caverns. But if you happen to be one of those people that are interested in those kind of things, Luray KOA is right there. So you're right there. It's a great place, but it's off the scenic path. There was a warning on from people regarding this specific KOA. That it said when you're coming up to the entrance, slow down, because you're going from 55 miles an hour to a 35 mile an hour turn to street, and they're not kidding. So, but
it's just saying, it was like, oh, holy crap, stop, let's go, we gotta turn right here. It kind of worked out a little bit for us, because as we finally got slowed down enough, we could make the wide turn and not clip anything.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like a little berm that you go over, and then you're making that turn immediately. So it is a quick turn, and it's a very narrow road going to the KOA itself. But then you get your sights, and the campground is beautiful. It is it's narrow roads, and so
yep.
They are big, they're long sites, they are paved, they are graveled sites, they're level sites, but there's a lot of obstacles in the way. My two favorites was how pretty the sites were. I liked how beautiful the campground was, and I liked how the fact that each of the sites were long enough and you were not right up on each other, as far as it's another KOA that was decently laid out. Just like very difficult to get out in the morning. Due to obstacles that were in the way, due to some of the way it was laid out.
Likes about it, I like the way it was laid out. It was easy to understand. The map matched everything perfectly, and the fact that the power and the water and everything was set up very accessible, very up and running. Dislikes, first and foremost, the PVC pipes for the toilets were up out of the ground, elevated, which made it difficult for me to dump tanks into it. You had to follow it up, lift it, and trail it through. It cut the PVC down. You were like, even while we were there, the site next to us, when the people left, you could not get the water to shut off. Something had happened where the plastic had cracked on the thing. It was spraying water all over the place, and even the guys who were the maintenance guys couldn't fix it. The other crappy thing was they need to do some trimming. If you're going to have RVs coming in, you shouldn't have trees that are only trimmed to 6 foot off the ground. It needs to be higher than that, because of the fact that most RVs sit between 8 to 12 feet. Some of them, like us, get up close to 14 feet. So you really got to make sure that you have everything trimmed. Like she was talking about the obstacles we had to get around when we were actually pulling out in the morning. We had to back out of our pull-through site and go around the other way, because there was a tree that literally would have taken and scratched the ever-living crap out of half of my RV hardcore and my truck had I tried to pull out.
Or could have also ripped off one of the awnings because of how low it was to the side of the RV.
So, long story short, those are the things I didn't like about that.
Prince William Forest RV Campground is located in Dumfries, Virginia, and that's just right outside of Quantico. It's hidden right off the main trail off of Prince William, and once you get in there, everything's set up. They have very narrow roads. It's set up like an old style park, and it is a national park, which we found out. So they are run by the forestry services, and so it's still kind of behind the 8 ball. However, it was beautifully, you're in the forest, so you are in the woods, and your lots are long, and so you had enough length to park a 45-footer and still have the truck parked in front of it with no problem. But it was, of course, you did have to be aware of overhanging trees and a lot of natural foresty stuff that was sticking out there.
It's set up that way on purpose to where you won't drive fast, because if you do, you're gonna scratch your rig. They did that on purpose to keep everybody driving slow, because it is national park and they don't want children getting hurt or anybody else getting jacked up because people want to be stupid.
So the likes, I liked the fact that it was very quiet. I liked the mood and the temperament. I liked the way it was set up. It was once we got in, it was very easy to get in and get out when we left. The thing I didn't like, I don't think there was not really anything I didn't dislike about it. I just didn't like the fact that I was still sick. So we missed out on being able to do a lot of things.
Yep.
And what about you?
For me, I would say, well, like I said, the only dislike I had was a small piece of dang moldy mud that was sitting back there that I slipped on. Other than that, I mean, everything else I enjoyed about it. But other than that, everything was good.
It was a really nice
awesome.
campground, and the people were really nice.
Yep.
The gentleman that would come around and check on stuff, he was very sweet and always said good morning. He was very nice.
They always took care of a lot of stuff.
But that's the 4 campgrounds that we stayed out, and the additional gas station on our trip through Kentucky back home. So I'll put all the links in the description bar below. So if you are interested while traveling in this area, you can go ahead and find them and maybe stay at them yourselves. So you guys, we are home. The groceries are in the back. We gotta go.